All right, welcome to another episode of the Go With John Show. Today we have Tim Brassfield in the house. He's one of our project managers at Stanley Martin Custom Homes. Welcome, Tim.
Thank you very much, John.
We have Pat Kearns, VP of Construction.
Good to be here.
And Michael Schnitzer, President of our company.
Good morning. Good morning.
So today we're going to follow up on our previous episode that we recorded about weekly meetings. And in this weekly meeting episode, it's really a very high trending episode. I strongly recommend that you go and listen to it. But as you progress through the building process, and we're having our weekly meetings, kind of the next milestone that comes along is the new home orientation. And we're going to talk today about our new home orientation and then the warranty process with our company. So Pat, do you want to kick us off and talk to us a little bit about what is the new home orientation?
Yeah, sure. So the idea or the premise behind it is as we approach and get through to the end of the project, we're going to present the home to you. We're going to walk you through and demonstrate how the home functions as you live in it, things that are important for you to understand, to know about the home, as well as certain things that you as the homeowner, once you take ownership of the home, are responsible for doing to make sure the home operates and functions and all the systems within the home operate and function as designed, so that you don't incur any issues as a result of not taking proper care of the home. We have a number of people who decide to care and do that maintenance on their own. And then we have a number of people who will hire maintenance companies or firms that will take care of some of that maintenance for them. But the idea is to basically walk you through, demonstrate how all the systems operate. It's our basically turning the home over to the homeowners and demonstrating how everything functions within the home. Important little things that that are essential for them to understand and know where these things are. So if they incur an issue, they can easily resolve them a lot of times on their own.
Right. So it sounds to me like it's two things. Like, so number one, how do you work the thermostat? How do you, if you have electronic locks or things like that, how does the house work, right?
Yep.
And then you're also covering the maintenance aspect of the home at the same time. What kind of things do you do on a regular basis?
Yeah,
to
where your
maintain
water
them?
shutoffs are for your hose bibs so you can winterize the hose bibs,
Right.
where your furnace filters are so you can change them on a regular basis, where your GFI switches are so that if you have an outlet that goes out in an area where GFIs are required, you can reset them if you need to. We talk about making sure your gutters are cleaned on a regular basis to prevent damage to your roof system and your soffit and fascia. We talk about making sure if you have a weld exit in the basement that has a drain in the bottom of it, that drain's kept clean and free of debris like leaves and soil and things along those lines. These are all things that we, as a homeowner, when you move into a home, if you've had a home for a long period of time, you probably are aware that you're doing these things. But some of our homeowners are new to home ownership.
Right.
Some of our folks have lived in condos or areas where the maintenance is taken care of for them. And some of the things are people that are moving from an older home into a newer one that has a lot of different parts and pieces as home building's been modernized.
Right.
Yeah, and I would say from a contractual standpoint, our contract points to the new home orientation because we need a formal handoff. Our goal is always to deliver a home that is 100%. Like if you went to buy a car, you wouldn't buy a car and, the door handle to the passenger side we just don't have it, right? We want to turn over complete. So we do have a deficiency list. So if there are things that come up, we write them down and complete them in a timely manner. I would say, and maybe Tim can talk to this, but the build on your lot process is a lot different than a production build process because we're with the customers all the time.
Right.
So typically, and Tim, I don't know if you want to talk to it, the deficiency list is a lot less.
Right.
Because we're with them every week.
Yeah, and since we're doing the weekly meetings every week, there's a lot of things that we've already noticed before we even do the new home orientation walkthrough.
Right.
That I've already started list before the walkthrough. So we've already kind of got a jump start before we even do the walkthrough.
Right, and I think we talked a lot about that in the weekly meetings episode, which I again suggest people go listen to that.
Yeah.
So you're having your weekly meeting and you're building your way up to the new home orientation. So what does the homeowner need to bring to the new home orientation?
It'd be a good idea to bring a pad and just make some notes, because like Pat said, there's going to be a number of things that I will go over, any of the project managers will go over with the homeowners, just explaining how the systems work, all the mechanical things, like Pat mentioned, GFI switches. There's a lot of things that homeowners might not be familiar with. Shut-off valves for toilets are different than most people are used to seeing.
Right. So how long does the new home orientation take?
Typically, I tell clients to plan on an hour to 2 hours.
Okay, that's not too long.
Depending on the size of the home.
Right. And when does it happen? Does it happen before settlement, after settlement?
It's a week before settlement.
Okay.
So we'll generate that NHA list.
Okay.
Which
is new home
the punch
adjustment.
list, new home adjustment list. And my goal is to complete that list within the week between the walkthrough and settlement.
Right.
That way, when they are given the keys and they are moving all their furniture in, we're not coming back in there with trades, making a mess again.
Yeah, it's exponentially better for the customer and for Tim and the PMs not to have to come in after the customer's moved in.
Right.
But we all know that there are, if a cabinet door needs to be replaced, it could be an X week lead time. And so there could be a few things that trail on the deficiency list. Not that we want them to trail, but we can't, we can't pull a cabinet door out of thin air.
Right.
So we got to wait for it to come in.
Right. Exactly. So, all right. So you have the new home orientation. What are some of the? So I think we.
John, I would,
Okay.
and maybe I don't know if Tim or Pat wants to talk about this, but there is a lot of excitement, a lot of planning that goes in. Mostly, well, when I say mostly, both on the customer end and on our end, we are extremely hypersensitive to the walkthrough dates, right? New home orientation dates, and when a customer plans to settle, because they have the moving trucks and whatever. And it's I want to say it's a little bit science and a little bit art in trying to get the dates correct. I don't know, Tim or Pat, you want to talk a little bit about that?
I'll first talk about the excitement and the buildup, right? So we've talked about this in other sessions. There's a lot that goes into designing, choosing a builder, making selections for the home, going through the approval process and getting underway. And then you have the time that's invested in actually building the house as well. So by the time we get to this point in the finish line, the customers are a year into it, maybe even more in some cases, and they've watched this process with anticipation. They've seen the home be built. They see the finishes going into place. They start to see the end product, and they're excited to get moved in. They're working on finalizing their settlement process with their mortgage company and their lender. They're going through setting up to get their furniture and their belongings moved into the home. If they have children, they're working on if they have to set their kids up for the new school that they're going to be putting them in. There's a lot of anxiety that gets built into this.
Right.
And by the time they come to walk through the house and do the orientation with us, a lot of times their mind is in about 50 other places.
Right. And they're not ready to hear what you have to say.
Correct.
Hence the pad and the notes.
Hence the pad and the notes.
Right.
And we also leave a pretty thorough packet that's behind.
Yeah.
A homeowner care maintenance guide, things specific to certain
Lawn
trades.
care maintenance instructions, hardwood floor maintenance instructions, countertop cleaning instructions. I don't think we have a document that we hand out, but I definitely tell them don't use certain products on countertops. It might, depending on the.
Yeah, so we're going through a lot of this stuff and verbalizing it with it, but we're also leaving a lot of information behind as well
Right.
for them to refer to at a later date.
Right.
When they might be in a better state of mind to absorb it.
Right.
Well, and I'd say, Tim and Pat, we, it's one of those things where you have to tell somebody something multiple times for it to sink in. And we realize we may have told our customers multiple things that maybe Tim has gone over with them through the process, but we actually have them focus on a document that Tim and Pat and some of the other PMs created, where literally we have to get them to initial each page because it's important information. And if you just tell somebody something, it kind of goes in the ether. But some of the things are so important that we need them to focus, that we have them initial off, we give them a copy, and then we keep a copy in our file. I don't know if Tim or Pat, you want to talk through any of that?
Well, Michael, are you referring to the settlement PowerPoint presentation?
Yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
So we're moving on to that. So yes, there are a number of things in there, like we mentioned, the gutter cleaning, just general homeowner maintenance items. Emergency contacts lists we also hand out for all the trades and all, that worked on the house. So if there is an issue that arises after settlement, they can contact them first. Certainly project managers will still be available too, but typically we ask them to contact the electrician first if there's an outlet that goes out. But typically it's just a simple fix.
Right.
And we do tell them that there are. I mean, we want to be in the loop when, and this is post settlement. So I'll save it for we talk a little bit about warranty. But during the new home orientation, we do say there are some instances, let's say appliances, where if you call us and we're not shirking our responsibility, we have to call the appliance company to then coordinate with you, to then coordinate back with the appliance company, and it can go back and forth like a pinball 4 or 5 times.
Right.
And so we encourage customers in that situation, just contact the appliance company and get it scheduled. Feel free to let us know.
Sure.
Right? Because we want to make sure that our appliance company does the work.
Right.
But to have us trying to meet, kind of coordinate the schedule sometimes gets, kind of crazy.
Yeah, I like to be at least notified if there is an issue. That way, if they have a problem contacting the appliance company or the electrician or the HVAC company to rebalance their system, I have certain contact numbers for people I can actually call and push them if they're not getting a response. So I can be a help in that. But
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So so I would say the scheduling of the new home orientation starts in terms of Tim and Pat and the back office beginning to talk. It's probably 40 days.
Yeah, 45 days to 60
45 days. I mean, we are trying to project out, but maybe Tim and Pat, you can talk about all the things that we have to get to have the settlement to schedule the new home orientation.
do we have enough time for that?
Yeah.
Maybe a few of the things.
Yeah.
Well, obviously, it depends on the jurisdiction where the house is being built. Some are much easier to get your final inspections and occupancy permits than others. I work mostly in Arlington, which is one of the most difficult jurisdictions to get your occupancy permit because you have to get multiple divisions or departments in Arlington County to sign off. All your site has to be stabilized. Silk fences have got to be pulled out. Trees have to be in. There's so many things typically at that time we're trying to get the apron in and the driveway at the same time, so it can be a little bit hectic on
So what is
site.
the apron? Because I get that people ask me a lot of times, what is an apron?
The apron is a section of the driveway that is between the sidewalk and the paved street.
Gotcha.
The right of way.
Right.
And then the area between the apron and the driveway is obviously your sidewalk and then your driveway.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so a lot of jurisdictions are very
Linear.
it's a good word, with how those are to be installed.
Right.
And there are a number of jurisdictions that actually require us to form them up and have them inspected before we can pour them.
Right.
So they will, we'll have to specifically have an inspection just to get that small 10, 15 foot section of walk or concrete driveway poured and installed.
Right.
And then once it's done, it has to be inspected again.
Right.
To make sure that it was poured properly.
Yeah.
So, that's just one small aspect of a number of inspections that have to incur.
Utilities is another big one that we're typically just hounding the utility companies to get them to run their service because we obviously can't finish hardwood floors and do interior items until we have the house acclimated.
Yeah.
Right.
A lot of times, Tim and Pat, our construction will outpace, no matter how hard we try, to reconnect. And in fact, we send all the engineering information, load letters and whatnot, before we even start construction. But the utility companies won't really put their jobs into the queue until we get through the close-in inspections. And there is a dance that we have to do, including confirming that the utility company has submitted for their bonds. And so we have a process when we get through the concealment inspection, we tell customers to help us help you. We contact the customers and say, by the way, we're contacting the utility companies, but help us help you. You also should contact the utility companies because they're just a big monolith.
Right.
And they're almost unmovable.
Yeah.
And so if we get more people calling in, a little bit of the squeaky wheel sometimes helps. Yes. But it has definitely held up construction, not for lack of both us and the customer trying.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we do is we make sure that the customer is seeing our communications with the utility companies.
Right.
We share all those willingly,
Right.
all those communications so that they can understand the process and how it's going, and in some cases the timeline delays as a result of waiting for the utilities to complete their design, schedule the contractor to come out and install the lines, work with the different jurisdictions to get the right-of-way permit to be able to cross the right-of-way to install said lines.
Right.
These are all impediments that can gum up the works
Right.
and slow down the process. So this is one of those things that's occurring typically in that last 45 to 60 days where we're trying to keep the ball rolling and keep things moving. And this is one of the things we reach a point where if we don't have utilities to the home, if we continue the process, we're risking damaging things that are going into the home as
Right.
finished products.
Which we would not do that.
Which we wouldn't do.
Right. Right. So, I mean, it's really interesting because the more conversations we have like this, the more I think folks can realize when they ask us at the very beginning of the process and they say, well, how long is it going to take? It seems like such a simple question, but the answer is highly complex, right? Because you've got all the different jurisdictions and you have all the things that we talked about in the weekly meetings episode. And, I don't even think we brought up getting the utilities connected in that episode, but here's another example of something that is completely out of our control that could either delay the process or not, right? The power could get hooked up right on time and we can keep clicking along, or it can hold us up. So these are all kind of the things that happen as we approach the new home orientation. And I think, Michael, it was a really great point that you talk about how excited people are and how excited we are. I think, am I right that probably the two most exciting pieces or parts of the transaction for you guys is the start and the finish?
Yeah, definitely.
So,
I mean, you think about it, you're working with these clients and these customers for an extended period of time.
Yeah.
You can see and experience the emotional roller coaster that some of these folks go through. There are highs and lows to a project of this undertaking as you're going through it. And obviously our job is to manage those and try to keep it on an even plane as best we can.
Right.
And inform the customers and take them through the process and kind of be their guide through the entire thing. So you get invested in it.
Right.
You're by the time you're getting to this point, you've built up a relationship with the client because we're meeting with them weekly. We're talking to them about, not just the build itself, but you're talking to them about, how their family's going to live in the home,
Right.
why they chose this location, why it's important to them. All these things are kind of feeding to that end of walking them through. And really, it's a presentation of the home.
Yeah.
We're excited to present it to them and to show them all the hard work and everything that they put into it as well as us, and the finished product.
Right.
So for us, it is. You're presenting that home, and we strive to meet their expectations. We want them to be excited about the process. We want them to be excited about moving in and taking ownership of the home. And like I said, there's a lot that's going on at that point in time, and people, it's a big investment. So there's a lot of nerves, a lot of anxiety, and a lot of, they want every little part and piece to be in place and to be just right.
Right.
And it's our goal to make sure that that's the case.
Yeah. Good.
Yeah. I mean, I think you captured it. Yeah. Just
Good
in terms
job,
of
Pat.
customers' expectations. And
Yeah. So all right, we're going to take a quick break. So we've been chatting about new home orientation and what kind of leads up to the new home orientation and what happens there. And when we come back after the break, we're going to talk a little bit. Did you want to add one thing, Mike?
Just two things. So one is in terms of customer satisfaction. So and I know our customers are busy, but we measure their satisfaction right after settlement, because everything's fresh in their mind.
Right.
And so, we're running at 100% customer satisfaction.
So what does that mean, Mike? Tell us about that.
That means that our customers are likely to refer Stanley Martin to a friend or a family member, that they're very satisfied with the process, with the people, with the product.
And how do we know that? We use a third-party company?
Yeah, it's a third-party. There's a third party that measures the satisfaction, and we review the results, because a lot of times they'll have something to say, I loved everything. Hey, one thing you may want to think about tweaking is this. Well, we take the information seriously.
Yes.
And
yes, we do.
We will, if we see somebody that says, I can't even think of a good example, hey, you should add this to your process, fine. If it makes sense, we would add it. Sometimes they have a comment about, we love the process, whatever, we're having this type of concern. Well, geez, we wish you would have called us, or I'll tell Pat, hey, Pat, contact the customer, or Tim, contact the customer. Let's find out. Many times they've already talk to us about this, but we're reading their comments. And I would say most customers stay in contact with us many, 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 many years after they've settled. It's, I don't want to say that we're a part of their family, but I know yesterday Tim got a email from a customer who they just had a little girl, and, settled them, quite some time ago, but they felt like they needed to tell Tim.
Yep.
And Tim, shared it with the group, and I mean, you build up a good relationship with the customers.
Relationships with the customers is key in my opinion, being a project manager, because if you have a good relationship with the client throughout the building process, I try to keep them calm. If there's an issue that comes up, just make sure they understand it's going to get taken care of.
Yeah.
And then when the house is finished and I do that walkthrough with them, I want to be proud of the product that I'm showing them.
Yeah.
So that is my goal when we get to that walkthrough.
Yeah. Fantastic.
And certainly the project manager is the linchpin of this entire process. So
Absolutely.
we can have a great back office team.
Yep.
We can have a great selection manager. Everybody can be doing their job, but if the PM doesn't build the home and deliver a good experience to the customer's expectation. And we've heard this before from several customers that we exceed. We have one customer that we build like 3 or 4 on a business-to-business houses for a year. Tim's built a couple of their houses. And, they've tried out other builders. They say by far our project managers just
and I happen to know who you're talking about, and
yeah.
they've also told me that our design studio managers are just
but they told me
above.
I was meeting with them last week about a couple other projects, and they said you guys kill it with the PMs.
Yeah, so there's very few PMs out there, project managers, that are really good at managing trades, because that's a special type of person. that manages subcontractors all day and plumbers and roofers and electricians, but then to be able to turn around and be on the front line with the customer, that's a different kind of mentality it is a different skill set, right? That you have. And all of our project managers are really good at both sides of that spectrum, managing the trades and managing the customer relationships.
And been with us for years and years and years and years. So.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right. Thank you, Tim, for being such an outstanding communicator with our customers. All right, we're going to take a quick break, and when we come back, we're going to talk about warranty. A lot of folks think that building a custom home is a complicated and arduous process. It doesn't have to be. At Stanley Martin Custom Homes, we have the process down to a science. We will bring you through the buying, design, and building phase one step at a time. Head on over to webuildonyourlot.com and check us out. Reach out to us if you want to get started on the path to your very own Stanley Martin custom home. All right, welcome back. We're here with Tim Brassfield, Pat Kearns, and Michael Schnitzer, and we're talking about today new home orientation and warranty. So we spent the first segment talking about new home orientation. What happens after new home orientation, Pat?
So the next step, obviously, is to get you to the settlement and to officially turn the home over to you. So like Tim said earlier, typically we're scheduling that new home orientation about a week before we anticipate settlement. The goal is that we get you into the home, we walk you through, we present it to you, hopefully take some of that anxiety and some of that nervousness away. You see the finished product, and then we're moving towards settlement. And that week in between, there's a lot of things that are going on, right? We're working on getting everything for your final permit and release of the home to you. Hopefully that's happened already, which is typically called a use and occupancy or a residential use permit. Or a UNO, use and occupancy permit. Those are all terms that are commonly used in the vernacular. So the settlement itself, we're going to sit down with you. We're going to go over the paperwork with you, have you sign off on some things, just like any settlement would. We've set our system up for that to occur at your house. We'll go through that with you, and hopefully we're reviewing the new home adjustment list with you as well, and having you going through and taking a look at the items that we listed that needed to be taken care of or tweaked or adjusted, having you sign off that those are complete. And the goal is to turn the keys over to you right then and there at the table, and have you move into the home. One of the things that we have experienced recently is that with all the new guidelines for mortgages, there are a number of mortgage or lenders that will not actually even begin processing that final draw or the settlement until they've received the use and occupancy from the jurisdiction that we're building in.
Right.
And there are times where that is right down to the wire. And some banks, lenders, are very quick in processing that and getting that turned over and can do it in 7 to 14 days. And some take a little bit longer. Can take anywhere from 2 to 4 weeks.
Another factor in the timeline.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we work hand in hand with a lot of lending institutions that work specifically with our type or style of loan, which is a build on your lot loan.
Right.
It's called a construction to perm.
Correct.
Construction to perm, that are familiar, and we're familiar with their processes. So we can kind of, if they choose one of those lenders that we are familiar with or work with, we can kind of guide them along, and we have an expectation of what that time period is going to be. We've done it and worked with these lenders on multiple different projects, so we can kind of understand, is it going to be 7 days from the time we get the UNO? Is it going to be 14? What that period's going to be, and we can kind of lead that customer through that process and let them know what the expectation is.
So at the end of the day, to turn over the keys, we have to be paid, but it's just part of the process. But we also realize that customer may have the moving van scheduled. They may have scheduled it 30 days ago. They can't cancel it without blah, blah, blah. So we do have mechanisms in place, like a furniture waiver, where the customer can sign off, basically saying, you know, if they damage anything in the house or the furniture is stolen, it's not on Stanley Martin.
Right.
But we're looking for ways to make sure that we can reduce the stress level if we run into something where the county, like in Arlington, said, you know, Tim says, you know, I really anticipate getting the permit on Thursday. That's based on many houses that have already gone through settlement.
Right.
But sometimes the county takes a little longer, and it's just a bureaucratic process. And so sometimes we do have to use that waiver to, you know, the customer can't move in, but
Right.
they can at least get all their furniture in.
Yeah, and what we do is we work with the client as well. We're obviously not going to ask them to sign off on something unless we've walked them through, had the new home orientation with them. And even though we may not be able to settle them at that point in time because there's a hang up with the settlement or with getting the UNO or there's some other process or something that's happened, we will walk the list with them that we've already generated, have them sign off on the items that still that we're taking care of and resolved to their satisfaction.
Right.
And any remaining items we'll document and note so that, hey, we're asking you to sign this furniture waiver so that we can help you relieve some stress, get the furniture moved into the home. You can't occupy it, but you can move these items and belongings in. We're acknowledging that we still have these 2 items that remain that need to be taken care of. You're acknowledging that everything else has been taken care of in the home and is to your satisfaction at this point.
Right.
So that everybody's clear and is well aware of what is out there.
Right.
And we don't want there to be any uncertainty. We don't want them to be nervous about signing off on it. We take full ownership of the things that we've already documented and noted, and let them know that we'll still work to get those items completed for them.
Yeah,
It doesn't happen very often, but when they
it
do, we
does.
want to make sure that it's fully
when it
documented.
does, we take care of it. I would say settlement is a very ubiquitous word in this industry. So unlike a production builder where you literally go to settlement and you get your keys from the, you know, title company
Right.
settlement. So here we're using it kind of more in a broader sense, because when we say we're going to settlement, we're really saying we're giving you, we're signing off on the new home orientation list. We're signing off on the new home adjustment list, the items that are done, and we want to give you the keys. So, but truly the customer goes to the lender for their settlement,
Right.
right? And
On their
and
loan.
On their loan.
Right.
And typically they're converting from a construction loan to a mortgage,
Right.
whatever mortgage product
Exactly.
they're going into.
Exactly. Okay, so we have new home orientation, we have settlement, and then we have warranty.
Yeah.
So I'll kick it back to you, Pat. So I guess at a very high level, we have once the homeowner takes possession of the home, we have a 60-day warranty visit, and then we have a 9-month warranty visit. So what happens at the 60-day?
Well, let me just back up and say
Sure.
this, that there's a proactive and a reactive approach to warranty.
Yes.
So we take a proactive approach because we know a customer has a 60-day list. Therefore, before the 60 days, we're going to contact them and schedule a time to walk the house and review the list with them.
Right.
Right?
Right.
The reactive approach is, well, we'll wait for the customer to give us a list.
Yes.
And if they don't give us a list, then we won't contact them.
Right.
That's not a good customer experience. It's not a good proactive
Yeah, and there's a lot of
approach.
builders that operate that way.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
Because
so-
what if 50% of the customers never contact you?
Exactly.
Then you've just reduced your workload by 50%. We
Right.
don't take that approach.
So 100% of our customers, we reach out to them at what point, Pat?
So typically we're reaching out to them somewhere around that 30-day period.
Okay.
The goal behind this is twofold. One, like I said before, there's a lot of excitement that builds up to the settlement and the new home adjustment list. They're moving into the home. They're getting themselves acclimated to a new place where they're living. And there are certain things that they're going to experience within that first 30 days that they're going to see in living in the home. And things that they may not have remembered or captured from the new home
Mm-hmm.
orientation. So we're going to reach out to them. 30 days is typically a good time. They've gotten themselves moved in, got their furniture set up, or have adjusted to living in the new
Right,
home.
right.
Where we reach out to them and say, hey, we at 60 days we'll schedule a walkthrough with you to go through the home. We're just reaching out to schedule that meeting. Is there anything that is going on with the home or any issues that you're experiencing that you need us to address or take care of?
Right.
And typically they'll have a few things here and there, that they need us to look at that maybe we didn't pick up in a walkthrough, or that maybe just from living in the home that they're experiencing that they need us to walk them through on how to deal with it.
Right.
There's times where in that 60 days you have a weather change and a door needs adjusted.
Right.
They had one of their GFIs trip and aren't familiar with where the reset button is.
Boy, they can be tricky.
Yes, they can. Just little things like that come along, and we don't want those things to dangle there or be out there for an extended period of time where they become uncomfortable or they feel like they can't reach out to us. They feel silly because they can't resolve it on their own, and it
Right.
seems like something simple that they could have taken care of on their own. So we reach out to them just to say, hey, how's it going?
Yep.
How's the new home treating you? Is there anything you need us to go over or take a look at for you?
And then
that's
you
what
come
that
out
adjusts.
at the 60-day mark, and then you
Yep.
address whatever
so
needs to be addressed.
We have a form that we use. We'll schedule an appointment to come out and walk through the home with them. We'll fill out any items that they've provided us that are warrantable items. We'll list them on the 60-day form. After we've had the meeting, we then go and reach out to all the contractors that we need to contact and schedule in order to set up the appointment to come out and do the work. And we'll line a day up where we can go to the customer's home with those contractors that need to do the work and basically take care of any adjustments that need to be done.
Gotcha. So now, Tim, when the contractors are back doing the work, are you typically back in the house with them?
Yes, I'm on site when they're in the house.
Okay. So that's a great service in itself. So,
You're a new homeowner. You don't want somebody that you don't know. I'm usually familiar with all the trades.
Right.
So it's just more of a comfort thing for the homeowners when they have their own belongings in the house.
Yeah.
They can continue to work. If they're working from home in their office, I can be on site just keeping an eye on the guys while they're making the adjustments.
Right.
But that sounds a good point that we will not do warranty work if the customers are not home. So it's
Right.
against our policy
Right.
to say, well, okay, we're going to work, Tim or Joe or Pat or whoever.
Yeah.
Just take the trades in. It just
Yeah.
doesn't work that way.
Yeah, it's not a good idea anyway.
It's not.
Yeah.
It's not a good idea.
Yep, yep.
So
Good.
we definitely don't do that. And the
Good.
same thing happens at the 9-month warranty,
Correct.
right? Where we contact them, and are those lists a little bit more extensive? Just because would you
Yeah,
say?
well,
'cause
I
we
would
went
think so,
through-
yeah.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah.
you go through more seasons. If you build a house in the summertime, you go into winter and your doors start shrinking. A cabinet door might come loose 75 days after settlement. So
Right.
we've already done our 60-day walkthrough, and then,
Right.
the longer
Yeah.
you live in the house, the longer kids are opening up drawers and doors, and you know how that happens.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Mike, tell us, what is the warranty on the home?
So there is a 1-year warranty
Right.
that's basically soup to nuts.
Right.
There is a 2-year warranty on mechanical, electrical, and plumbing systems. There's a 10-year structural warranty. And then all the parts and pieces also have their warranties. A warranty on the roof products, a warranty on the water heater, and so on and so forth.
The siding, the flooring, the
Everything,
countertops. So they all have manufacturer's warranty.
They all have manufacturer's warranties.
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. The other thing I was going to say that's important, and I know we focus on, is when we're turning over the home, we're saying to our customers, hey, pay attention to the countertops and the floors and whatnot, because, and we're not suggesting that movers do a bad job, but it's not uncommon for somebody to scrape something, to damage something, and so, Those type of looking at the surfaces are very important because it may be hard for us to warranty something.
A scratch. Right. If it wasn't called out on the
exactly.
NHD.
Exactly.
Yeah, I typically relate it to when you used to go into your great-grandmother's home and they'd have the plastic coverings on the couch so that the couch wouldn't get any stains on it.
Right.
We do something similar when we build the homes. When we're building the house and it's under construction, we put protective coverings over your countertops, on your floors. We put cardboard on across the face of the cabinets, on the lower cabinets, so that if anybody walks by with a tool belt on, they're not scratching the surface of the cabinet door.
Right.
When we turn the home over to you, we're presenting you with a finished product, so we remove all those items.
Yep.
But there's still something that's going to be going into the house and people that are going to be coming in and working in the home, and that's your movers or your friends and relatives that help you move your furniture into the house if you choose to go that route.
Yep.
And they may not be aware of all these things. So we try to give them some guidelines and say, look, we've had all these protective coverings down for a reason.
Yeah.
Because these items are susceptible to scratching and to damage.
Right.
You need to be aware of that and be careful as you're moving in. You can put your own protective measures down to help that, which a lot of good moving companies will do.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Or you can just be very observant as these things are going on and try to prevent them from happening.
Right.
I think the other important aspect of us doing our walkthroughs, or our 60-day and our 9-month warranty walks, is that we can see how the people are living in the home. We're walking around the home with them. We observe things that are going on. We can give them tips to things that they may not be paying attention to or may not have done that could prevent them further issues down the line.
Right.
Like
what, for example?
If they have a weld exit and they have a bunch of debris or leaves because they went through a fall season that's blocking that weld exit drain, we advise them, hey, you need to make sure that you're keeping this area cleaned out. Now, that's something we talk to them about from the pre-construction meeting on, but it also gives us another point of reference where we can be out to the home and say, hey, this is something that could be a problem for you. You need to make sure you're taking care of this.
Another big one on that topic is settlement around the exterior of the foundation.
Right.
So anytime that they see the grade subsiding around a window well or something, that's something that we don't warranty, but something that we advise them to keep an eye on if they see it. I will tell them, call a landscape company, or if you want to go to Home Depot, buy a couple bags of topsoil and some grass seed and just level it out, make it so you have positive grade away from the house.
And that's pretty, and you can't predict if it's going to happen or not. It depends on the compaction rate of the soil, right? But settling is normal.
Can't warranty that.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. I would say probably one other thing kind of falls outside of warranty, but it's within the warranty period, and this is more site related, is when a customer paves their driveway. I don't know, Tim or Pat, if you want to talk about base coat and top coat.
Yeah, so, a big item that a lot of homeowners are going to experience after they've moved into the home is settlement. In order for us to build the home, we have to build outside or dig the dirt outside the actual overall limits of the home.
Right.
The outside edges.
And it could also be just laterals.
Correct.
Or plumbing, electric, whatever, and they cross
Right.
over the driveway.
And they settle. Yeah.
And it settles.
And
or the moving truck, it's 100 degrees out, is bringing their furniture in, and they're parked for X hours, on relatively new asphalt, and they leave indentation. So we purposely leave the asphalt down, nominally about an inch.
Right.
So that if, and certainly we're not saying that it happens all the time, but if during let's say the first 6, 7, 8 months, there is some settlement, before they top coat it, they can cut out that base, patch it, and then top coat, and then you get a nice, clean final product.
Correct, and they're also using a different type of asphalt as well. They're for the base coat, they're using what we call a larger aggregate, which is a bigger stone. It doesn't have as smooth a finish to it. It's more of a solid base, which is why we call it a base coat. It can withstand a little bit more of that movement and settlement that you experience. Now we're putting a compacted underlayment down there with stone, but still you're going to experience some of this stuff. And the idea is that you don't put a top coat down till a certain period of time afterwards and go through a couple of seasons where you get exposure to that settlement that may
Yeah.
occur.
Let it
before you put-
happen.
Yeah, let it happen.
So, and I don't know if Pat or Tim, you guys want to talk about the bond release process. It's it's not necessarily part of the warranty, but it comes up during the warranty period. And I would say, maybe talk about. I mean, most of our houses on the infill properties were sodding, but if we seed, you got to have germination, and
Right.
so I don't know if you want to talk a little bit about bond release.
So at the settlement process, one of the documents that we give to the homeowners is a bond release document. And when the bonds are generated at the beginning of the
Yeah, prior to
process,
permits are released. Yeah.
we will give them a document that tells them what their bonds are that they have. Typically, the homeowner's going to know what bonds they pay
Yeah.
for because it's money
Right,
out there
right.
that they want back, right? You're not going to forget.
Well, they can hire a surety company, but you're
Right.
absolutely right. They so it's so little bit different. So like for instance, Arlington, 99.9% of the jobs you don't even have bonds,
Right.
Whereas if you're in other jurisdictions, you may have an erosion control bond, you may have a tree bond, you could have a right-of-way bond. There's all sorts.
What do the bonds run? About how much? I mean,
It
just
really
give me a range.
depends. So a VDOT bond, and I would say MDOT's probably about the same. Can be 20 to 30 grand.
Right.
Right.
So
And it
th-
depends on how many. If and that's for an apron connection. Let's
Yeah.
say we have to dig up the street because let's say it's a vacant lot and we've got to bring in sewer and water. There's other bonds in the right of way. So.
Right.
Long story short is you have to have your use and occupancy. If let's say we sodded a yard, right, put sod down, they have instant grass,
Right.
right. So theoretically, day one after settlement, they can call the county and go through what's called a bond release. Really, inspector comes out and say, yeah, you stabilized
have
your
grass.
yard.
Right.
And I mean, doesn't mean that next day you're getting a check back if you posted a cash bond.
Right.
But it goes to the, could be to Richmond or could be, if it's Montgomery County, and the check will be processed back to you.
Right. So the homeowner, if it's a $20,000 bond, they either have to put up $20,000 cash, which
Or
they
hire a company. Think of it as like an insurance company.
Right.
Or like a bank where they will post the bond for you and you pay them, it's really a stipend. It's a
fee.
stipend.
Percentage fee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's a small fee.
yeah, but you don't get the fee back.
No, but you
Right.
stop paying the fee.
Exactly.
Yeah.
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 Exactly.
So you want to go through the bond release and
Yeah, and there are some bonds in some jurisdictions where we have extended bonds that go a little bit longer because we're having to plant trees or vegetation that they want to come out and observe after a year.
yeah. So like City of Falls Church, I think is like a 2-year tree bond, right? So
Wow.
you got to wait 2 years before you call in for bond release because they want to make sure meaning the jurisdiction, wants to make sure it goes through a couple growing seasons.
Right. Trees are established.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah. Cool. So is there anything else you can think of with regard to warrant? So really, what I'm hearing.
Well,
from-
I would just say the one other thing.
I would
Tim,
like
you
to
wanna
just
guess?
mention the drywall paint certificate that we
Yes.
also provide at settlement because that is a big thing that comes up with the warranty.
Okay.
Then the one thing we didn't mention when we were talking about the new home orientation, at that meeting, what we also do is we blue tape the house. So all the little nicks and dings in the paint or imperfections that
that we haven't already
we haven't
caught.
already addressed.
Right.
Yeah.
We will walk the house when we're generating that NHA list, new home
Right.
adjustment list. I'll hand the roll of blue tape to the homeowners. I'll have a roll of blue tape, and anywhere 6 feet away, normal daylight, where you see an imperfection in the wall, you blue tape it. Those items do not go on that list because you can't write every little imperfection in the wall.
We would just
It
have a
is-
note that says general
Blue
touch
tape.
up. Yeah,
Right.
Yeah. So there would be something on the list, but it's not like 3 inches in and 5 inches down on this wall,
Right,
blah, blah,
right.
blah.
Exactly.
Having said that, the house is, you could have 4 pieces of blue tape
Yeah.
in a 4,000 square foot house. You could
Right.
have 16 pieces,
Right,
right? So
right.
it's hard to quantify because we've already walked the house
right.
Stanley Martin to make sure with our touch-up crews to make sure the house is fine-tuned.
But I just wanted to mention that
Yeah.
because it's a question that constantly comes up when I'm doing this, either the new home orientation with the homeowner or the settlement. And that settlement, we will give the client a drywall paint certificate that is good for 1 year from settlement.
Okay.
That they can call the drywall company first to come in and fix any nail pops.
Which hardly ever happened.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then after the drywall company comes in, the painter will come typically the next day and do his thing. And that's a one-time free certificate that they're welcome to use. I typically tell them 10 months or after settlement, so you can get the most bang for your buck for that one-time certificate.
And the good news, at least with our specs, we don't even use nails anymore.
Exactly.
We do call it a nail pop.
Yeah.
That's what the industry calls it. But we actually glue and screw.
That's where I was going. Yeah.
So, but the industry knows it commonly as a nail pop, and there's moisture in the wood. So the wood is, no matter, you even if the house was built indoors, the wood that they're using still has a moisture content, and it's got to dry out. And so you will get some shrinkage from the wood, and you may get some.
So you will
cracking.
use that certificate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we do
and that's why we have it. It's an expectation, right?
Yeah.
When you move into a new home, you build it in the elements. It's not completely. There are periods of time where it's exposed, and like Mike said, we're using materials that, once you conceal the home and you shut everything up, and you're running air conditioning and you have conditioned space, the moisture that's in the wood, that's in other materials, is going to adjust to that and acclimate to that new environment.
Right.
So it's going to dry out a little bit, and as a result, you're going to get some settlement.
But we call it shrinkage in the industry because
Yes.
settlement has bad connotations.
Yes.
Correct. And it could mean the actual foundation. We've never had this. But I'll just bring it up. A foundation theoretically could settle.
Right.
But in my entire construction career, I've never experienced a foundation
Because you follow
settle.
the right processes.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah, we do the geotechnical reports and
So what I'm taking away from this conversation is the whole process is not black and white. It's not like, you brought up settlement, right? It's a process. So the process of turning the home over to the homeowner happens really over a period of time. And it starts with the new home orientation. Then you have settlement, then you have then obviously the buyer moves in and they're living in the home, and then we have a 30-day walk. So we have a 60-day walk, and then we have a 9-month walk where we address any outstanding items from the orientation, either reorientate them with the home or address any warranty items.
And I would say probably importantly, we call it a 9-month walk. The nuance here is, if you go back to our conversation about warranties, right? Our trades, we have a contract with our trades. We have a 1-year soup to nuts.
Right.
So we want to make sure that if there is something wrong that is warrantable, that we get it to our trades before the year.
Right.
So we don't want to have a 1-year warranty process that we then go back to the trades, and now we're 14 months after settlement.
Right.
So that's why we do 9 months.
Exactly.
Right? Because the customer could be out of town for 4 weeks, right?
Right.
So we don't even meet
We're
with
busy.
them for 10. Right,
Yep.
exactly.
Yep, it happens. Fantastic.
And then I would say just one last thing, which is we take the customer's temperature right after settlement. We also take our customer's temperature after the warranty period, and again, we are running 100% satisfaction. So that's a testament to the product, the quality of the product, and the quality of the experience.
Absolutely. It's amazing. And it's been that way for over a decade, well over a decade.
It's been that way for a long, long
Yes.
time.
Congratulations, Michael. Starts with you.
Yes, sure.
It does. And we all know
the
it.
nuance is it doesn't end with me, and there's a lot of people. It ends with Tim.
Exactly. Yeah. It starts with Michael and it ends with the
Tim
PM.
and Scott.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, fellas. Thanks again for coming in. And again, folks, if you want to get started on the path to your very own Stanley Martin Custom Home, give us a call or a click today. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.